Welcome to Yoga Biz Camp with myself, Michael J. Today we get to meet Valerie Kiser. Valerie is a studio owner of 19 years, and I met her by chance on a mastermind where I was super impressed by the personal touch she was making to win back clients. I think it's super relevant to studio owners right now. Enjoy. Welcome to Yoga Biz Camp. I am thrilled to have Valerie Kiser from Sunrise Yoga Studio in Clemmons, North Carolina. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. So what's great about today is I don't know a lot about Valerie except for a little bit of stalking I just did online before we met. But Valerie, I see you kind of everywhere. I see you pop up asking questions on webinars. So I think we go to a lot of the same things. I see you participating in a lot of community stuff. And you and I were on a Mind Body One. And for those that don't know what Mind Body One is, it's a community of Mind Body users, but it's kind of a peer-to-peer support space. And we were on a recent kind of webinar chat discussion thing that they did. And I was just really wowed by the things that you're doing for winning back customers and your personal touch points. So I can't wait to go into that. But I'm going to read your bio and then find out a little bit more about you. So Valerie Kiser has been the owner of Sunrise Yoga in Clemmons, North Carolina for 19 years. She's been teaching for 23 years and has the titles of ERYT500 and C-IAYT certified yoga therapist, in addition to many other certifications. She has led 200 and 300-hour teacher training programs for 10 years and is the co-owner of East Coast Yoga Therapy, which is an IAYT-accredited program that trains yoga teachers to become yoga therapist. Prior to being in the yoga business, she was a computer programmer. Awesome. I would love to know. So, computer programmer, tell me how a computer programmer gets to be a yoga teacher and a studio owner. I'd love to know your journey.
Yeah, it was definitely a journey. I was a computer programmer. That's what my college degree was in, and did that for quite a while. And just started actually taking classes like everybody else in yoga, and just fell in love immediately. I was taking classes, and this was, a long time ago. And in the South, there really was not a lot of yoga in this area. And so I was just clamoring if I could find a teacher anywhere. There really weren't even any true studios back then. It was all in somebody's basement or renting a little hall somewhere. And so I was just gobbling it up. And, again, to tell you how long ago this was, VHS tapes, everything I could get my hands on. I just fell in love with it and just kept practicing and studying and started traveling for workshops. And as a computer programmer on the side, I actually used to teach aerobics and step and all that kind of stuff back in the day. I was a personal trainer. So teaching was part of my background anyway. Right. And so the longer I stayed in computer programming, the less happy I was with it. And the more I realized that is not what I wanted to do. That's not what was making me happy. And so I ended up still computer programming, switched from teaching aerobics to teaching yoga on the side. And then again, fell in love with it. I still to this day remember my first class afterwards, bouncing off the walls. I was so excited. I had so much fun. I said, this is what I want to do. And so still kind of moonlighting, teaching nights and weekends, and started teaching at a gym and another gym and a church. And I got invited to teach in somebody's corporate break room. And finally said, I'm tired of schlepping yoga props because I teach alignment-based yoga. So I was taking mats and blocks and straps and sandbags and all that. My car was the yoga mobile. And decided I'm going to open a yoga studio. This is really what I want to do. And still working the 40+ hour corporate job when I did that. And in my mind, when I did that, I was going to do it for 2 years. I was going to still keep the corporate job as the just in case, and here's how I'm going to make money. And I'm going to run a studio full time also. So basically 2 full-time jobs. Yeah. And after a few months, it was like, this is not going to work. And my poor husband was like, this is not working. So after 6 months, I ended up quitting the corporate job and jumping in both feet, and have been doing it full time ever since.
Well, honestly, we have a very similar sort of path.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think you and I actually probably the studio I had is 19 years old, the same as yours, and coming up to 20 next year. And so I think we kind of trained probably in the same time. But I think there was a magical time back then when my teacher, Joy Irwin, it was basement learning. It was, we paid probably per quarter. I think we probably paid for like 4 or 6 months of classes up front. It was very simple. Grimy basements. And I think at that time there was just some really great inspirational teachers that hit the US and Canada that I think it feels kind of very diluted compared to at that time where it felt very focused. So how did your studio, how did it become? How did you, did the space manifest? Did you look for a space? And before you go there, I think there's something important that you said there, that for people that are starting a new studio, you don't have to give up something at first, because you and I did a similar thing. I had a design firm. I had huge contracts, a big design company that I ran, and I did both for a year. So it kind of, I felt like I was selling lottery tickets with my job, my graphics job in the day, and then yoga at nighttime. But I think what's important there is that you kept yourself a stable base while you transitioned, right? So it doesn't always have to be giving up everything at once. It can be a transition.
Right. It's a hard way to do it. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, it was a hard 6 months, and it was a big decision. It was not something that my husband and I took lightly. I mean, it was something we had multiple conversations about. We said financially, can we make it? Are we going to be okay? And it wasn't just I'm going to go open a yoga studio. I mean, that's just not my personality, to just go fly off and decide to do something. And it took a lot of thought, a lot of conversation, and a lot of hard work. But, you can always look back and say, was it a good decision or not? And I think it was, to have that overlap period of time, because it gave me confidence to say, okay, I'm doing this. And I'd already been teaching for 4 years before I opened the studio. And so I'd already had that student base that I brought with me. So I wasn't also just opening the door to absolutely no students. I basically was teaching. For example, I taught at a church and a gym, and okay, here's class today, and the end of class tonight. Oh, by the way, so here's a map to where class is going to be next week. I mean, it wasn't quite that dramatic, but it was kind of like that. It felt like a natural transition, to say, hey, I'm going to go open this new space, and here we are. And you had asked about sort of how I came upon the space itself. I knew, because Clemmons is a suburb of Winston-Salem, and neither one is a huge town, but Clemmons is definitely a suburb of Winston-Salem. And I actually live outside of Clemmons, or on the other side of Winston-Salem. And I knew I wanted to open in that area, because by the time I had decided I wanted to open, there were a couple studios that were in downtown Winston-Salem, but really nothing on my side of the county. And I live over this way. I'd been teaching some classes on this side. And I said, you know what? There's no yoga over here. Why not go where there's not a lot of competition? I don't want to go in downtown where the other folks are. And even to this day, I'm very fortunate that there are no other studios in Clemmons. There are quite a few in downtown Winston-Salem, but there's no other studio in Clemmons. So knock on wood that I've been very fortunate with that.
I know that feeling. I had it for a while until 2 other studios came, but I know that feeling.
It's a good feeling while it happens. So that has helped. And I don't know that it just sort of manifest, other than I knew that was the area I wanted to open the space, because I did my homework. I looked at demographics. I looked at population numbers.
As a computer programmer would.
I know, isn't it such a geeky thing to say?
No, but I would say that skill set probably helped you in all of this, right?
In some way, the analytical part of it, I do think has helped. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce and got statistics on, how many people live in Clemmons and what are the demographics and all that kind of jazz. So I did do my homework. It wasn't just a total blind thing. But then I just started looking at spaces, and back then I didn't know what I didn't know. So I didn't have a real estate broker. I went around and called anybody who had a space for rent sign sticking in a window in a shopping center, and I ended up doing the whole deal myself. I didn't have a broker.
Me too. Yeah.
So I guess you don't know what you don't know, and so I ended up finding a space that I could afford. It had horrible visibility, but it was affordable. And it was like, okay, it's a starting point. And like I said, I had 4 years worth of students that I was able to call upon, and then, made a big deal out of the grand opening. And there we were back in 2003.
And so it sounds, again, similar to my studio. You had you were in a community. Mm-hmm. And so did you find that compared to being in the big city, did you find that, or do you find that the community helps because you get to be a little bit known in that area? Has that worked for you?
I think it does. I think it does make a difference that we're not in the bigger city, that people, and the fact that we've been around for 19 plus years at this point, people just know the name Sunrise Yoga because we're active in the community. We've helped at the Clemmons food pantry for as long as they've been in existence, which is, I don't know, 17, 18 years, maybe. We've helped with various organizations. I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce and I've been a member of Rotary. And so I think that does make a difference. Just being in a smaller community is that, just the name recognition is there. It's easier.
Yeah. I think it's great that you're mentioning the Chamber of Commerce, because I have a studio opening right now in California, and they're not even open yet. They haven't done the build out, but we're getting everything ready. But one of the things that they're doing on, prior to opening is getting involved in the chamber and going to luncheons and standing up and saying, hey, my name is, and I'm around the corner. And I think already partnerships have formed for them. And the chamber is wanting to get in on helping them do a kickoff celebration and a ribbon cutting and things like that. So that was a big part of what I did as well in my community, but it is getting out there and getting involved. And I also want to touch bases on something else you just said there about giving back, because I actually have a list here that you have on your website, but you have given to Food Pantry, American Red Cross, National MS, Harvest Food Bank, Make-A-Wish. So can you talk a little bit about the kind of why that is part of your business?
Well, it's part of my business because it's part of me. That's something, I love that. Volunteering and donating money, donating time, donating items. It's just something I do. Actually, my husband and I the other day were talking about retirement, and he made a passing comment of, I don't have to worry about you being bored in retirement. He said, because you're going to be volunteering for everybody all the time, which I can't do nearly as much as I would like to right now because of the business. But it's just, I really do. I think that's why it's part of the business, because it's an important thing for me to give back and to do things to make the community and the world and whatever a better place for as many people as we can. And so that's why I've made it such a part of the business. We've done like the American Red Cross. We've done, not really with COVID, but before COVID, oftentimes when there'd be being in North Carolina, we tend to get our share of hurricanes that come either here or to South Carolina. And we've done yogathons where we'd raise money and donate it to the American Red Cross for, hurricane victim relief. The food pantry, we haven't again in a few years, but we used to do 108 sun salutations on the solstices. And we do it as fundraisers for the food pantry. We keep a basket at the studio year round for people to bring items to donate. So we do things like that, and even pop-up things. There's an organization in the town that helps connect businesses and churches to school needs. And so during the pandemic, one thing they came to us, they said, okay, you're a yoga studio. This would be a perfect fit. Would y'all collect stress relief items. We want to donate it to the kids who are having troubles with COVID. And so they asked us to collect things like, coloring books and crayons and stress squishy ball things and just different items that they could give to kids. And it was a perfect fit to come from a yoga studio of how do you help kids reduce stress? So all of that's just a big part of who we are.
I honestly love that. That's how my studio was. It was definitely about giving back, but you do it for selfless reasons, but the benefit, we don't do it for the benefit, but there is a benefit from the studio sees sees your brand as a caring part of the community, which I think is so important. And I love the fact that you're out there as part of the community, and I imagine that helps build community within the space too.
Absolutely. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So what's your superpower? What do you bring to the business? Your computer power. But what do you I always say that, mine was marketing. Other people, might have, the tech skills or whatever. What do you think your superpower is for being around for 19 years?
Wow, I don't know. I would say in the beginning, it may have been some of the computer programming, because 19 years ago, I was a mainframe programmer. So I was not PC, not server, definitely not internet, but I knew enough HTML to be dangerous. And so I coded my very first website myself by hand back in the day. It tells you how long ago it was, right?
Netscape Navigator.
Well, yeah, pretty much. So I was able to do a lot of some of the tech stuff back in the day myself in the very beginning. And I think that really did help. But I think it somewhat explains my mindset of I'm analytical, I'm organized, I'm detail oriented. And so with that comes, we've got a pretty decent procedure manual. We've got standard operating procedures. It's all documented. And so I think that is something, and being organized and planning ahead. And I think
did you start with that though? With those operating procedures, and did you? Because I kind of feel like a lot of us learned that over the years, but back in the day, it was like little printed out punch cards, I imagine,
it was. Yes. There were index card size and an index card, little plastic.
But the processes, was that natural to you at the beginning, or is that something that you implemented later?
I think some of that stuff was just kind of natural for me. Now, having procedures and whatnot, no. And that was not in the beginning, because in the beginning, it was me, myself, and I. That ran the business. I mean, literally, I had no staff, I had no teachers, I had no desk folks, I had no office manager. It was me, myself, and I doing everything. And friends who were volunteering to help me paint when we opened, kind of thing. But once I started bringing in teachers, and once I started bringing in folks at the desk and office manager, I have to say I kind of geeked out and went pretty quickly to making procedures and training manuals, because that was actually one of the things I did as a programmer, is I sometimes would write manuals of, step one, click this button and then go to that screen. And I think that detailedness just kind of carried over. And so when I did bring on staff, I did go to that. Yeah,
I'm working with some brand new studios, and I told you one that's opening in California, and I'm having them start their operating manual now, before they even open, just getting everything ready so that those systems and trainings and procedures and staff procedures. And so can you tell me about that? You've built it up. You've got these procedures and staff. Tell me about your structure now, your team, and how that's kind of managed.
Well, it's a little different now than it was before COVID. Right now, there's 6 of us who teach at the studio. It used to be double that plus subs. So we certainly have lost some teachers along the way, which in some ways I don't think was always necessarily a bad thing. I think the folks that stuck with the studio are the ones who are huge Sunrise Yoga advocates.
They are the ones writing your mission, vision, values.
Yeah, I mean, those are the folks that it's like, I'm really grateful to have such an awesome team of team players.
Yeah.
So we are smaller. I do have an office manager who works with us. She's actually 100% remote, which before the pandemic, the office manager was there 5 days a week. But with the pandemic, during the pandemic, we had some staffing changes. She was working remotely. And we've just stuck with it because we find it kind of works. We used to have 4 or 5 front desk folks. At the moment, we don't have any. Again, we're still trying. I mean, to be honest, we're still trying to build back from the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely a work in process. We don't have any front desk staff, but I'm hoping that we're getting close to the point where we can start to bring folks in to help us out with that again.
Yeah. The staff thing is it's everywhere, right? And it's like everybody's going through that right now, and the sub situation, and so. But it is a rebuilding for sure. So just looking at I'm sure. Can you tell me a little bit about the client journey? So I'm imagining let's talk through the process of somebody buys a intro pass from you. Can you tell me a little bit about the client journey from that point on?
Sure. So hopefully folks have bought the intro offer. We're trying to encourage everybody to buy it online ahead of time before they just show up, which is something different from before, because in the past, you could just show up and walk in the door and we'd have space and you could stand there at the desk and fill out a piece of paper. And that, as many studios I've heard are in the same boat, is it's pretty much done all online now. And so sometimes folks will call. We tend to have more of a middle-aged, older clientele who come to the studio. So we still do get a decent number of emails and texts and phone calls of asking for a little hand-holding from our office manager. So, we certainly are happy to provide that. When students come in, let's say on their first visit with their intro offer, we do have like a card, like a large postcard thing that we give them that's got all the information about because we have a branded app. We use MindBody. We've got a branded app. Here's a QR code of, how to download it. Here are the QR codes for our social media. Here's
I love it.
Because we also have a huge video library that we let our intro offer folks have access to. Here's how you get instructions to get that. And so it's a card with a bunch of information on us. We don't have to just stand there and blah, blah at the front desk with all that stuff. Yeah. So we give them that. Everybody on our team right now, I really can't say enough about our team. They're pretty awesome, I have to admit. They're really good about welcoming new people. That's kind of what we do. We're not a young, hardcore power kind of studio.
Same as mine.
So it's we're alignment
look
based.
Them in the eyes and say hello and learn their name.
And we know everybody's name. I mean, and that's something else that I think is important. You were talking about just sort of the customer journey, is that folks are acknowledged and recognized. And yes, I know who you are. And yes, I remember you've got a shoulder issue, so we're going to modify down dog today for you.
Totally.
So that's a big part of it. It's just that acknowledging people, welcoming people when they come in the door, taking care of them in the studio classroom. Okay, I know you've got a knee replacement and you don't want to do anything kneeling. So as an instructor, I know that and I remember that. And before we even do a pose that's going to be a problem for you, Nancy, I want you to do this instead. And our students feel cared for because of that. Yeah.
I love that. So do you have a process within that? I think you're a month intro offer. Mm-hmm. Do you have a process within that intro month? And then, so is your process to hope to convert to membership? Is that your business model?
Yes, that is our business model. We do have class cards and drop-ins, but hopefully we get them on membership. That's our model. So we use BrandBot, which is hooked to MindBody. And so we've got an entire auto campaign set up within BrandBot. You get a text after your first class saying, "Hey, how was it? How did it compare to your expectations?" They get a phone call a couple days after their first class. "Hey, how'd it go? Can we recommend a different teacher, time, class, whatever? Can we help? What can we do?" And then, so we've got a whole campaign built out that they get during that 30-day intro period, they get emails, they get texts, and they get phone calls. They get all three.
Yeah. Can I stop you there
Sure.
I have studios so resistant to the phone call. They are so resistant to putting that effort into the phone call because they think that they're going to get rejection from the phone call. I don't know what it is, but they'll do everything in the automation that I suggest, texts, emails, but some of them are just resistant to that part. Can you talk about that part a little bit?
Sure. I don't do it. My office manager does.
Yeah, but there's a reason you do it, right?
There's
a reason you do it, though.
But yeah, we do make phone calls. We actually make a phone call after their first visit, a few days after, just to say, hey, how'd it go? And we do have, talking about procedures and documentation and stuff. I mean, we've got a script for what if they answer the phone? What do you say? If they seem like they don't want to talk to you? What if they seem chatty? What if they've got a bunch of questions? And then we've kind of got a built-in Q&A as part of our procedure. We also have a script if you have to leave a voicemail of what to say on the voicemail. And if they leave if our office manager leaves a voicemail, she will also then text them right after and say, hey, this is such and such from Sunrise Yoga. I just left you a voicemail, kind of thing, so that people know, because a lot of people don't deal with voicemail, and it's kind of interesting because we've been doing phone calls, I don't know, 6, 7, I don't know, longer years, but a formal person assigned that task. And even way pre-pandemic, you could see the decline of the number of people who answered the phone and the decline of the number of people who even have their voicemail set up, because so many people don't do that anymore. And so, I mean, yeah, you're right. There's definitely a percentage of people who don't pick up the phone, who don't have voicemail, who won't call us back. But you know what? For the ones who do pick up the phone, it's worth it.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why?
Yeah. So because they get that personal human contact of, hey, wow, you thought enough about me to make an effort to pick up the phone. Because who makes a phone call anymore? Nobody does. Like you said, I mean, most people don't even like it. But the ones that want that human touch, and we found this to be true, especially
and in your demographic too, right?
Yes, I was going to talk about that too, and our demographic, because we're middle-aged and older age kind of clientele. They're going to be more likely to pick up the phone anyway.
You're not going to DM them.
No, not as much. We still might, but not as much. But yeah, there's just something to that. And then, I'll hear stories from the office managers say, hey, I actually talked to such and such, and she was so happy that we called her, and she had questions, and she felt like she was heard, and she felt more confident coming to a class, and all that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, the number of people who actually pick up the phone and answer or call back, it's not a big percentage, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And the first class, after the first class, I mean, the first class might not have been a fit for them. Right. So they could be judging you on that and think, I didn't spend too much money on the intro. I don't need to go back. Yeah. But then a phone call may be, oh, well, that may not have been the right teacher. What are you looking for? Oh, I recommend this kind of class or this teacher for you. So do you find that kind of?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, okay. The level 2 class wasn't the right fit. Okay. Well, how about let's go back and try level 1.
Yeah.
Or back care or chair or you tried back care and thought it was too easy. Okay, fine. Go take an all level class. So yeah, it gives the opportunity for us to help them find the right fit. If it wasn't the right fit day one.
And so, for the newer studios out there, the more times that somebody comes to your class on the intro offer, the better, right? Because then they're going to look at this, they're going to look at their week and go, okay, I can fit this, and this class into my schedule. I can get value out of a membership.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. I will put one caveat to that is that people who come too often on the intro offer will burn out.
I agree.
Yeah, we found that to be true, that if somebody is there 7 days a week on their intro, 6 to 7 days a week on their intro offer, they often will burn themselves out. They'll probably join the membership, but they'll end up quitting pretty early on because they just come too much.
Yeah, I've on the membership side of things, I found that too. I find that you probably get a good 6 months out of them.
Yeah. And then they're like, I'm done. This has been too much.
So I want to carry on from just what the touch points, because this is how we kind of met on this webinar or the chat. Was I was really struck by the effort that you're putting into win backs. So I'd love to know what your structure is, because I think that's where everybody is right now. You're in the same boat as everybody else, and it's building back trust for people to come back to you. So can you talk a little bit about the win back and why, and kind of your process, because I really admire your personal touch.
Sure. So I'll say one other thing before I get into the details on that is we do a lot of personal touch, and I'll give a couple examples, and then I'll explain our win back thing we're doing right now. Is we handwrite cards, condolence cards, get well cards, about once every couple of years. And I want to start doing it yearly. Is we hand write and hand address letters to all our members and say thank you for being members. And I just talk about the human touch.
At what point in the journey do you do that?
I'm sorry,
what point in the journey do you do that? Is that like a once a year thing, or you stagger it with their membership? Or
in the past, it has been a once a year. I did it during the pandemic. Just everybody, thank you for paying for your membership, even though we're in this weird, doing stuff at home. And then I actually did it, 4 months ago to everybody, just kind of a big blast. But what I want to start doing is timing it out with membership. If you've been a member for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, and start, staggering a little bit more, rather than me, getting a hand cramp from writing thank you notes for 2 weeks solid. So, and I know that, because I want to back you up on this personal touch thing that we're talking about, is I had people come up to me in the studio, send a text, write an email, and thank me for writing them a thank you note.
Wow.
It makes a difference. So, for anybody listening, yes, it's time consuming, but you know what? It makes a difference. It really does. Okay. So you were asking about the win back thing. So what we are doing is, and how you and I met was the Mind Body One, the mastermind, I think
mastermind.
It was.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And so originally, I think it was the very first mastermind, I had said in the group, well, we're going to do a win back campaign. We normally do a 30-day intro offer, but these are win back people. I got 19 years worth of people. Let's see if we can at least get a couple of them back in. And I was just going to kind of do a mass email of offering 2 weeks for $25, and I said 2 weeks because if they're just window shopping, which is what I call it, then they can, come and go, and they're not going to hang around. But 2 weeks still gives us enough time to interact and try to get them to hopefully come back. So the group was kind of like, well, that's not the best idea, just a mass blast. And so I started thinking about it more. And so what we're doing right now is we went back basically from when we were able to reopen, which was September of 2020 until January 31st of this year. So about a year and a half chunk. And what we're doing with those folks is we're breaking it up into like a chunk of 15 people at a time. And about every 3 days, we're sending them an email. It's, a text email. It's got a video of me in it. And it's got a link to buy 2 weeks for $25. We've missed you. We and your yoga mat have missed you, kind of thing.
So is your video saying we miss you?
Yeah. Okay. It's me in the studio. And we moved to a new location in October. So not everybody has seen it. So it's me in the new studio space, going, hi, look at me in the new studio. Isn't it awesome, kind of thing? I'm not saying any of that, but just showing it and saying, hey, we really have missed you. We'd love to get you back. Got a great offer for you. And so we're sending 15 of those. And then and all this is all automated in BrandBot. And then like 2 days later, if they didn't open the email, we text them and we say, hey, we sent you an email with a great offer. Are you interested? And so then 2 or 3 days after that, the office manager calls them. And says, hey, did you get our email? Did you get our text? We really miss you. We'd love to get you back. This is a great limited time offer. What can we do to get you back in? And so we've got those 3 touch points. And we figure after that, if they're not interested, they're not interested. But what we're doing is, the reason I'm doing it at 15 at a time is so my office manager can manage calling that many people at a time.
Yeah.
And then we're running it like every 3 days until we get through that 1.5 years worth of people. And yes, it's a little time consuming, of course, from her standpoint of making the phone calls.
Yeah.
It's a little time consuming for me to run the list and put them into BrandBot and create a new campaign, but it's not horrible. I mean, it's really not that much time. The initial setup was a big chunk.
Yeah. So rinse it. Once you've done it, it's rinse and repeat, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You can do it in a few minutes, but it's just the fact of doing it.
So if you've been listening to the episodes lately, you will be hearing a lot about BrandBot and automations and campaigns. And so if you're a studio that's not embracing this technology to add to your human tech points, I highly recommend it. So if you're a MindBody user, they do have Marketing Suite. It's an upgrade. If you are a Walla user, you can use Referizer, and also Referizer connects into MindBody as well. So the idea here is that these automations get triggered. So for example, if somebody purchases an intro pass, then a whole series of emails can be triggered. Not only that, texts as well. So they're really great touch points. And the idea is to use them is to can help you convert to membership. So I'm a big fan of Referizer right now. I'm using that with my MindBody and my Walla clients. My client Tina got 90 5-star Google reviews in less than a month. It was pretty amazing. And I've been playing around with the email build out and the text campaigns as well, and it's pretty great. Anyway, if you're interested, I am a partner with them. I think it's a great product. I don't promote products I don't believe in, and you can get a free demo through me. So you can just go to the show notes or head over to yogabizcamp.com, and under freebies or resources you will find my list of partners, and you can get a demo there. Back to the podcast.
And we're also keeping track, our office manager is keeping track of if people are not coming back, or if they're saying, don't need to contact me again, thanks, of why. They've gone somewhere else, they're back to home, they've moved, we ticked them off, or, whatever it is, we're keeping a list, because I started thinking about it is that's some valuable information of why are people choosing not to come back? And then somehow we can use that as information.
Do you think people are being honest?
From what I've seen so far, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm sure some people are like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
moved out of the country.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing there? Like, is anything surprising you?
Not yet. It's kind of, it's not like a 90% response rate. It's not necessarily a huge response rate, but we are getting people in. We are getting people to buy the membership after the 2-week intro offer.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's working. Even, and talking with some folks about setting all this up, people are setting up my expectations. Don't think you're going to have like a 90% response rate. You're not. It's going to be small. But I figure at this point, I'll take whatever we get. And like I said, the information, assuming people are being honest, you're right. If people are being honest about why they're not coming back, I think that is helpful, because that gives us information to help people overcome obstacles of potential new students, because they're probably thinking the same kind of thing.
Yeah. So what is the biggest obstacle right now? Is it just being in a deep breathing space, closed in space? Is that?
I don't think so. I think for us, it's not so much a COVID thing right now, at least not around here, even though whatever the numbers are doing but today. What we're hearing a lot of is that people are doing their thing at home now. And even though we were still doing hybrid, we're still doing classes on Zoom. We've got over a 500 video library, a video on demand access library.
Yeah.
We do have options, but some people have just gotten used to doing free stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. I did my Apple Fitness this morning workout. Kyle from Canada. Yeah, but people have definitely got used to it. And I have the studio that I sold, I still teach there. Very similar demographic to yours. And I do see that it's slow building back the in-studio experience with that demographic, because they're kind of loving not rushing around in the morning and flicking the Zoom on, and it's like they still get their community. And so, I mean, honestly, that is tough. It bites into the business, but I mean, thank God we have these tools now that, I imagine kind of save the business, right?
Not semi. I will say 100% video on demand saved my business from closing. Absolutely.
Because
when the pandemic came, we shut down in March is when we were required to. In February, I already started seeing the handwriting on the wall of people weren't coming to classes as much, or they weren't comfortable. And people were already starting to get a little uncomfortable the month prior. So I started creating video libraries actually in February. Of just recording little things people could do at home. And I was just giving it out, just trying to, keep people engaged and hang on to your membership. And if you do, I'll keep sending these. And then, of course, when we did have to shut down, then I was like, okay, well, now we're going to Zoom. Now we're going to blow the library up like crazy and do whatever we can. Because we ended up having to be closed 5.5 months.
Yeah. And so you kept a lot of your community together on Zoom, right? And they're still grateful for you. And is your video library now, because you've built that up now, is that a perk of membership?
Yes, it is. We actually have 2 different kinds of memberships, and we just created this not long ago. We've got the unlimited membership, which you get Studio, Zoom, and VOD, plus a bunch of perks, discounts on workshops and all that kind of stuff. And then we also have an online only membership, which is Zoom and VOD only. No perks, no studio classes. It's just that.
Yeah.
And then our intro offer people, we let them have access to the video library as well.
Yeah. So Valerie, just before I sort of wrap it up here, I really, do you have anything else you want to say on the personalization? Because I really think that is where membership is, right? I really, that is where studio growth is. It's where community is. But it's not just from a phone call, right? It's everything.
You just said it. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. It is everything. It's the knowing people in the studio. It's welcoming people. It's knowing their name. It's all of that in the studio space. It's like you said, it's also the phone call. And there's the automation stuff too, with the emails and the texts that are automated. We got to do that also. But then it is the sending a get well card or the thank you letter, it's all of that put together. And it, and now after 19 years, it's taken a while to get to this point, to do all of that, but I think it's worth it.
And when did you know? So you've got an office manager that does a lot of that work for you. When did you know in your business that you needed to hire somebody? And what do you have to say to those business owners that don't think they can afford a front desk or office manager? Or
I used to say the exact same thing. I would say the same thing. I can't afford anybody. And then when I first started, it was like, okay, I'll do work trade. We don't do work trade anymore. I've just found that paying people as employees is the way to go for me.
Because you can have expectations and
exactly.
Tracking.
Yes, exactly. So when I first started, it was kind of more trade type stuff. Which, that ended a long time ago. But I used to say the same thing. I can't afford a front desk person. I can't afford an office manager. And what I can say to new studio owners is the cost of the salary and the taxes and the yada, 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 and the training and everything else, it'll come back to you. And it'll
Multiple.
come. And I was going to say yes, in spades, because
Yeah.
once you get somebody trained, I mean, I look at the time, like our office manager now is making these, 15 phone calls a day about every 3 days, plus everything else that she's got on her plate. I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it. I got too much other stuff I've got going on. And so if I didn't have her to do that, then it'd be on me and then it wouldn't get done.
Right.
And so, hey,
and you'd be on overwhelmed and frazzled all the time, right? And
I'm that way anyway, but it would be even worse.
All right. I always end my podcast with a few fun questions. So something about you that most people wouldn't know.
I play the drums.
I love that.
And I don't mean like bongo drums. I mean like 5-piece
full-on drums.
Drum kit, rock band. I've never played in public, never played in a band, but yeah, I've been learning how to play the drums.
How do you learn?
I've had been going to lessons for a few years now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be such a release.
No, it is fun. Yeah. It is fun. It's very unusual. It's completely different from what I do and, as my quote day job. But yeah, it's fun.
Oh, what made you want to do that? What made you?
As a kid, I played clarinet and piano. And so just a music background. And my husband had started taking guitar lessons a while back. And it was kind of like, well, I want to do something. I want to pick up an instrument, do something musical again. And I don't know. I said, I want to learn how to bang on the drums.
I love it. You and your husband can jam together. All right. What's your favorite business tool, website, or app? I
don't know that it's my favorite, but the one I use the most, I'll admit, is MindBody.
Yeah.
Because that's the software I use. I use the MindBody app, the business app on my phone.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know that I would call it my favorite, but it's the thing I'm on all the time.
Yeah. I mean, basically you run everything through that, right?
Pretty much.
And that combined with BrandBot.
Yes. Yeah.
And for the folks that don't know what BrandBot is, it's a marketing platform that integrates with other fitness studio softwares. There's others out there. I think LoopSpark. I partner with Referizer. So it really depends what connects into your. But you should be having automations, right, for at least your intro offers and some of those things.
Oh, and so much more. Much more.
Yeah, celebrating anniversaries and milestones of how many classes and all of those things.
Yes, all of it.
And what is your favorite personal fun website or app?
I saw that question. I was kind of like, I don't know if it's a specific app or website, but I love corgis, the dogs.
Is that right?
Yes, have one. We've had several. And so it's anything with pictures of corgi puppies.
Okay, so you're on corgi blogs.
Yes, and seeing a corgi puppy makes me smile. So when I'm frustrated or annoyed, I just go look at corgi puppies and it makes the world better. They're so cute.
Valerie, where do people find you?
We are in Clemmons, North Carolina, but we are also everywhere because we're online. Our website actually is sunriseyoga.net, and they can find us there.
And you've got Facebook and Instagram under the same name.
Yes.
Instagram is Sunrise Yoga Clemmons. So thank you so much for sharing. It's so great to have met you accidentally this way. And it's when you were talking about, I've got to have you on my podcast. This is, I really do admire, first of all, that you've been around for 19 years. You have survived a lot in 19 years, and especially the last couple of years for sure, like everybody else. And so, but I really just admire that your passion that you still have in the business, and the fact that I see you're still involved in learning a lot about the business. I see you popping up everywhere. So I really see that you're not just passive in your business. I really admire how you're out there learning better skill sets and tools from other people. And so I admire how you're doing things. So thank you for being on here, and thank you for sharing your journey and your systems with other studio owners.
Oh, it was a true honor. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for also being, you listen to this podcast too. So
I do. So anybody who's made it this far in this podcast, you need to go listen to the others. He's got a lot of great free advice. Y'all go listen.
Yeah, it is like, it is my passion project, and I love being able to get to people that inspire me. And you're one of those. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
I feel so blessed to be able to be in a position to meet such incredible human beings, let alone incredible yoga studio business owners. I would love to keep in touch with you. Please give me a follow on @YogaBizChamp on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn underneath Yoga Biz Champ too. And if you want to get going and rocking your business, go to yogabizcamp.com, not to be confused with champ. And last but not least, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by supporting us by, first of all, subscribing to our feed on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And also, please give us a review. You can click the stars, give us 5 stars. We would love that. And also a review if you're getting anything out of this. Until next time, thank you for listening.